Hi everyone, I've got Conan with me here for the next part of the video. Before we start, I need to say that me and Jason have actually been together 10 years, not 8, like I said in a previous video. Right, so this video is the next part and what happened. So Jason was actually away in Hamburg when this all happened. I went to bed on the Friday night, absolutely fine. And I woke up and I didn't know what had happened, but now I know my waters had gone. At the same time as Jason being away, my parents were also on holiday as well. So I was just left to my own devices really. So I text Jason and he was up because of the time difference and he was out in Hamburg. And I texted him saying that something really strange has happened. I feel like I've lost control of my bladder. So he said, right, you need to ring the hospital and let them know, one of the midwives. I was ringing the hospital and no answer, and I started to get really scared. So I rang the 111 helpline and they said, you know, well, I think your waters have gone, so we'll send an ambulance. And this started to feel really real because at the start I thought maybe I've just lost control of my bladder, maybe, you know, and I didn't want to cause a fuss in case it was that. So the ambulance came and they didn't even examine me. They just looked at me and said, yeah, your waters have definitely gone. This was the third pair of leggings I'd changed into, and I wasn't at the point in the pregnancy where I had loads of clothes. Everything that I had that was stretchy I was wearing, and I've basically gone out of all those clothes. And one piece of advice I will say before I go further on into the video, and I'll probably forget, is if you're pregnant, pack a bag as early as you can, because if I just had a bag that I could grab, it would have been so helpful. I did have a bag, but it had absolutely nothing in that was useful at the time. So anyway, I was in the ambulance to the hospital, and during this time Jason had phoned his mum and dad and let them know what had happened. So by the time I got to the hospital, I'd been examined and Jason's mum and dad came, and I'd managed to get in touch with my sister who also came. So I had Jason's mum and dad and my sister at the hospital. I'd been examined and they'd said, yes, your waters have definitely gone. They listened to the boys' heartbeats and they were fine. And obviously I'd never really heard about people going into labour this early. We were booked onto an antenatal course, but we hadn't quite got to that point in the pregnancy. So maybe they would have gone about it, talked about it further in that kind of course. But yeah, so I didn't know the chances of survival for the boys, or what this meant, or what it didn't mean, or, you know, I didn't know anything about it. And still really, I don't think people really know a lot about premature babies. I kind of thought maybe it was like a ward on the hospital where the babies went, and it was a bit like a nursery where they grew. But let me tell you, these boys fought every second for the next second. It's such a journey they've been on. But yeah, so when my waters had gone and I was in the hospital, they told me that York actually wasn't a hospital that could look after little babies that small. So they said the nearest hospital would be Leeds. They got in touch with Leeds and there was no space at Leeds, because obviously they need a bed for a pregnant woman and then 2 intensive care beds for both the boys. So this is quite hard. They rang Hull and Hull didn't look likely at first, so they were looking further, and Hull did actually have space, so we're so lucky. Within this time they were monitoring me. They gave me an injection for the boys to help their lungs mature, and I was due another one within 12 hours after the first injection, or it could have been 24, but we never actually got to that point. And I was given some medicine to try and stop labour, and they explained that if labour started in the ambulance, it'd be obviously the last thing they wanted, because I'd have to give birth at the side of the road. Ambulances would have to come to pick up the boys, and obviously it was just the last thing they wanted, because the survival rates of that would probably be a lot lower than if they were in a hospital at the time of birth. So we managed to get to Hull. It was quite quiet because it was early in the morning, but whenever we hit traffic they were going blue light, and they were going quite fast. I remember feeling really sick and just praying that the boys wouldn't come during the ambulance journey. But we got to Hull and we actually managed like a full day there. While I was in Hull at the hospital with my sister, Jason's mum and dad were trying to get Jason home. He had to actually get a flight from Hamburg to London, where they picked him up and they drove from London to Hull to bring him back to me. During this time also, my parents were travelling back from being on holiday, and my sister was taking good care of me. we were on the labour ward just while they monitored me, and we could hear, you know, everyone else having the babies, and obviously all the shouting and all the happiness after the babies were born. But my sister did such a good job of just keeping my mind occupied, and we just tried to relax as much as possible, because I just wanted to keep the boys as safe as I could. I felt if I was panicking, they'd be panicking too. Jason finally arrived back in Hull, and he was absolutely exhausted, so I don't think he'd had any sleep for quite a while, and obviously the worry and everything. And they examined me again, and they said, look, I don't think anything's going to happen tonight. Obviously they can't see into the future, but they told me that sometimes when waters go, the women are on bed rest, and they can keep the babies inside for another couple of weeks. So I thought, right, that's it, nothing's going to happen tonight. My best plan is to send everybody home, including Jason, which I had to really persuade him to go home, and get a good night's sleep, I thought, and then we'll start again tomorrow all fresh. So I got taken to a room that wasn't on the labour ward, with all my bags and stuff, of loads of random stuff that everyone had brought. So I had quite a lot of stuff, and I tried to get to some sleep, but my back was killing me so much. And I just thought, maybe this is it, my waters had gone. I didn't link it to labour, but I was getting checked on continuously, and everything seemed fine. And I was up and down so many times to the toilet, I just couldn't get comfortable. And then on the final time, I was thinking, oh, don't get up again. It's such a palaver, you're in pain. But I'm so glad I did, because what I know now is I had a cord prolapse. So I rang the buzzer. To get the nurse's attention, and she came in and examined me, and she said, you know, you need to get on all fours. They covered me over with like a blanket, and they rushed me through the corridor as fast as they could. I just remember being in the operating room, and the lights were so bright, and it just kept on flooding with more and more staff. They explained after that, due to it being an emergency C-section, they have to have so many doctors and so many staff, and then because it was twins, they had to have extra staff as well as the staff, so it did feel like a lot of people. One of the midwives was working really hard to find 2 heartbeats. They could find one, but they really struggled to find the other, and I just remember thinking, come on. And they did, and that's the last thing I remember. They put me to sleep, but right before they put me to sleep, they said they'd do everything they could to give the boys the best chance, and obviously that's what they did, because from me ringing my buzzer, from getting out of the room that we were in, pushed down the corridor to getting the boys out, it took 8 minutes. So this obviously gave them the best chance of survival. So I can't thank them enough for everything they did. So after that, the part of the story would be what the boys went through. So that's what I'll do in my next video, because I think it's too long to keep on chatting in this one. But what I want to show you for the next video is these are the little sunglasses that they wore when they were first born, because they needed to be under a blue light. So I don't know if you can really see exactly how small they are, but just hold them next to Conan. He's quite a lot bigger than them. This is his little dummy that he had. So that's coming up as bigger on the screen, but that's his one now, and that's the one next to it. And I don't have a nappy to compare it to, I didn't get one, but this was a nappy that they had when they were first born, and this was too big. Okie dokie, so in the next video we'll speak about the boys' journey in hospital. Thank you for watching. Bye.